Hello everyone, welcome to another session of Travel Diaries. In this session, Ashok Mam and Ranjana Pachi will take us through Angkor Wat, Indonesia and Bali and Cambodia. So we can sit back, relax and enjoy. Ashok Mam, tuk unmute kurka.
Thank you everyone for coming to this travel experience. I hope it's worth your time. So let me start by projecting. Oh, no, I have to first do that.
Share karka hai?
Yeah, hold on. Okay, 1 minute.
What happened? नहीं है बंद करी.
Yeah.
Share screen karka.
1 minute.
Yeah.
Okay. You can see the screen? Hold on. Can you see the Cambodia presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Dista.
Okay, the PowerPoint, okay. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, so let me start. Okay, so this was basically a tour of Cambodia and Indonesia. You could call it a tour of temples. And we were drawn to this actually by a documentary on Angkor Wat that we saw on Netflix some time back. This was in the middle of last year. And so we went there and we decided to combine a trip to Indonesia as well. And many thanks to Suman Shiralkar, who arranged the travel for us, and she chose some wonderful places for us to stay and to visit. And it was just all in all a great trip, a very memorable trip. And I'm glad we made it before the COVID lockdown and all the restrictions on travel. So the goal, we went to see Angkor Wat, but we wanted to actually see the impact of Hindu culture in Southeast Asia, which is considerable. It has been there for centuries and still exists today. So we wanted to see the impact of that. The other notable thing about this trip was this is the first time that we went south of the equator in our lives. So we had to do that once at least. We had never gone to Australia, New Zealand. The southernmost we'd been to was Singapore. So this is a little south of that. You can see the equator is somewhere here. And we did go south when we went to Indonesia and Bali. The highlights of this trip are actually shown right here. So you got the largest religious institution in the world, Angkor Wat. The sixth largest Hindu temple in the world and the second largest in Southeast Asia, the Prambanan temple in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. I'm sorry, that's here. And 1 minute, let me get this out of the way. Also, Borobudur, which is the largest Buddhist stupa in the world. So those were three of the highlights. The other highlight was this Ramayana ballet that we saw in Yogyakarta. And I've got some snippets of that ballet drama. So it's beautifully done. And of course, the art and culture of Bali, the only Hindu province in Indonesia, that was incredible. And the hospitality of the people there, and particularly the place where we stayed there, was just incredible. And we'll talk about it a little later. This map, well, maybe we should just go to the next slide. So it's just a collage of some various images here. This one is the Angkor Wat. This one is in the Angkor Wat complex. This is called Ta Prohm. This is where the movie Tomb Raiders was filmed. This is the Prambanan temple. And this is us visiting the Treta Yuga from the Kali Yuga. We are visiting them. So we posed with them. This is Mahalakshmi carving on one of the entrances to the Banteshri temple. As a beautiful temple with exquisite carving, almost like wood carvings, but this is all stone.
ह्याचे
And then
सगळे सांग.
next one
Yeah.
we'll do that. So, and this middle one is the the migratory route of Hindu culture from India, from various cities in India to the various ports, and then to those countries and the kingdoms there in Southeast Asia. So we'll talk about that. So here is that in some detail. Most of these are all sea routes. Seafaring people, traders went from these places in India to these various ports, and the dots here represent Hindu sites. So these are places where there are temples or large Hindu artifacts. And along with the traders, they took a lot of the Hindu culture, and what we see there is kingdoms that came up here were all Hindu kingdoms. So if you look here, in Cambodia, you got the Khmer kingdom, which empire, the Champas in Vietnam, then Funan in Cambodia, and then you come to the Malay coast here, Malay Peninsula, and you got these places here, Langkasuka, and then you go to Sumatra in Indonesia, and you got Sriwijaya Empire, and then down here you near Bali and all, you got these other Sinhasari and Majipat empires, Majapahit empires. So these are all Hindu kingdoms at different times, starting from the 1st century CE. So a little bit about that. We had, okay, so this was one of the 1st to the 5th century. So around the 10th or 11th century, the Khmer monarch there at that time, Jayavarman II, converted to Buddhism. And so there was a lot of Buddhist influence after that. Cambodia became a majority Buddhist country. Islam came to this area through traders, again in the 11th and 12th centuries, and then much later came the French, the Dutch, and the British as colonizers. So here's just the same thing in words, but I think I've covered most of this. But I'll keep it up for a little while so you can read it. So you can see all these empires were all in so-called, and they call it Indianized kingdoms. But these were the main
Hindu and Buddhist.
Hindu and Buddhist, yeah.
Indianized.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this is the political map of Cambodia today, and this is the old kingdoms that existed, and these are the Champas, the Khmer, and so on. So these are all the kingdoms around here. And actually, this Cambodia is actually this part here, but a little part was carved out of that. That is actually Laos here. You see Laos up here on the upper right, and it's actually this part here. But these were the old kingdoms. So Khmer was a powerful empire for 600 years. Now the major river going through this that fed the civilization is the Mekong River. The Mekong River goes through, it starts out in the Tibetan Plateau, and then it's called by this name in China. It goes through China, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and finally Vietnam into the Mekong Delta here. So this is the life breath of the Cambodian. Yeah, this is their Ganga of all of these countries here, the Southeast Asian countries. In fact, the Khmer, Angkor Wat, the whole civilization was a water-based civilization. They had an elaborate system of canals, and we'll talk about them later. So here is the Angkor Wat city complex. Now, this originally, when Western man discovered Angkor Wat, it was this part here. And of course, then the native people had, they were living around those ruins for centuries. But they thought this was just one big, large temple. But from satellite imagery, they were actually able to see that there were many more sites around. And in fact, that whole complex is bigger than the area of Paris here, this whole thing.
And so they're still expanding around.
Yeah. So it's expanding that actually they're discovering more things around here as well. And this whole area was had an elaborate system of canals that were graded so that water flowed in a particular way, but it was apparently a very delicate balance. And it's possible that due to drought and climatic changes that balance was disturbed. And as a result, actually this Angkor Wat, the capital shifted from here to Angkor Thom. Okay, so let's talk about, so what we visited were various places here. Certainly Angkor Wat, and then the Bante Shri, Bante Kadai is here, Ta Prohm is here, Angkor Thom and Bayon. These are the places that we visited.
And the Barai. Can you show the Barai?
Yeah.
These West and East Barai are huge
reservoirs.
water reservoirs.
Yeah.
And the Mekong River
water, I think,
water flows into it.
Yeah.
And it's always there for them for, rice cultivation and all.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a snapshot of the Khmer rulers who ruled Angkor, the Angkor region from 8th century to the 14th century. So starting back in about 700 Jayavarman I up to Jayavarman Parmeshwara in 1327. So the locations, these are the sites that we visited, okay? And as you can see, there are many, many more sites. I wish we were younger so we could have walked more and spent more time here, but there's just a lot to see. So we saw some of the highlights of it. So what you see here is the kings, the names of the kings and when they reigned. So, one of the biggest builders, one of the biggest builders was this person, Jayavarman VII, who reigned for a long time, 40, 50 years, and he did a lot of building. Jayavarman VII and Jayavarman VII.
But Suryavarman II.
Okay. So
made
these two. No, this Angkor Wat was Suryavarman II. Now these two people. Okay, these are the sites I've circled. These are the temples we visited. The reason I circled these two is because they were responsible for the carvings on the river bed, the 1,000 lingas and the carvings of reclining Vishnu and Shiva, images of Shiva carved on the sides of the river. And so those are also the sites that we saw. So Angkor Wat and the 1,000 lingas, those are the two places we went to. Now, one interesting thing about these kings is that each of them wanted to build something in their own name. So they all, and of course space was limited. So many of them started a temple and then one of their successors would build something else at the same place or around it. So they just kind of, so some of these temples are kind of a little, they're like a mixture of several different kings' desires. Okay, so that's the best way to put it. So for example, Bante Kadai, okay, was built by Rajendra Varman, and that's a Hindu site, Hindu temple dedicated to Shiva. But later on, Jayavarman VII came along. He converted to Buddhism.
700 years later.
Yeah, and he is, so the Bante Kadai is also listed here. So you got the names of temples here at multiple places, depending upon who built it originally, who expanded it, and so on. So Bante Kadai has now Buddhist statues as well. So you'll see that. Okay, so that's about that. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so the 6th largest temples in the world. So Angkor Wat is by far the largest, and this is measured in terms of the paved area. So it's 1.62 million square meters is the paved area of Angkor Wat. So it's the biggest temple by far, and the biggest religious institution actually. And the second largest is the Ranganath Swami temple in Tiruchirappalli, which is 631. Then you got the Akshardham in Delhi. Then the Belur Math Ramakrishna temple in Belur. The Nataraj temple in Chidambaram, and then in Indonesia, the Prambanan temple. So we visited the largest and the 6th largest temple on this trip.
And also they are building the Ram temple in Ayodhya now. That is going to be the third largest, which is 420,000 square meters. Like, so
Okay.
it's going to be
Somewhere
right
there,
between
somewhere here.
Akshardham and Ranganath
Yeah.
Swami
So
temple.
that's an interesting statistic there.
Mhm.
Okay, so Angkor Wat. So this was a shot that I took early morning. We went for sunrise. That was the thing to do. So we went there.
Yeah, so the day we arrived in Siem Reap, where that was our first stop, and we were at the a hotel in the morning, but that whole day we spent in just resting and going around, close by. What we loved about it was the hospitality. As soon as we went to we came out of the airport, they gave us such a beautiful, somebody came to us and took our luggage and brought us back to the hotel. But after that, you don't have to go to to them. They make you sit in a nice cozy place and bring all kinds of food and drinks to you. Then
Yeah,
take
you
to
never go up to the counter.
it's so wonderful. So very different from anywhere that we have gone.
Yeah. So the hospitality and
hospitality
service was
is
incredible.
amazing. And thanks to Suman Shirarkar, our dear friend. She is our travel agent in many of our trips,
Oh, yes.
who arranged many of our trips. So it was very personalized. So we got the best hotels everywhere. So we went there the previous day, and this was our second day. And early morning, we had to go to Angkor Wat. So literally, we got up at 3 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
4 o'clock, we had to leave from the hotel and go to their ticket, where they give tickets for the whole.
You get a pass. You hang it around your neck, and they check it at each side.
Every time, yeah. So,
you have to
that you have to get before the sunrise, because we were going to go and see the sunrise. And there is a big, crowd to see the sunrise, because it's amazing. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So that's the Angkor Wat temple. Of course, this is in broad daylight. But so here's the thing: this temple has some incredible amount of stone. So it's dedicated to Lord Vishnu. Okay, and it has, they say, between 5 to 10 million sandstone blocks, each of them weighing about 1.5 tons. And these blocks were mined about 25 miles away in the Kulen Mountains. That's where the 1,000 lingas are carved also on the river that goes through that region. And so it was brought by a combination of river and elephants to this site. And this temple was constructed. The other interesting thing is that if you look at the total amount of stone here that was used, it's more than the amount of stone in the all the Egyptian pyramids combined. Okay? And there, apparently the limestone for the pyramids came from about 0.5 kilometer away. These came from almost 40 kilometers away. So just incredible engineering feat. Okay, so this is kind of an artist's conception of the city as it might have looked, because as I mentioned, water was kind of the main mode of transport, and the city was interconnected with these canals. So this is how it might have looked with these canals and so on. And this is how it looks right now. Because the jungle took over large parts of this for many, many years. And it was probably covered by gold. And so this is...
they say that it was covered, all those temples and all the spires were covered with gold. And everything was painted. And so right now you see very little of it still remaining. But the expanse of the city here, and that everything was connected by these canals, and how their houses were on the sides of the canal. So it's almost like Venice, right? But it's huge. It's the whole expanse is just mind-boggling. It's beautiful.
So this is a collage of some 4 photos taken around that area. So this is just when the sun had come up. The sun had just come up, so we took this picture. So inside on the outer walls here, you have all the scenes from the Mahabharata etched in this whole corridor, okay, which is really long. You have all the scenes from the Mahabharata here. So here are some apsaras, and I think this was plated either
With
silver plated.
And some paint.
Yeah. So that is that. Okay, so now we'll switch to a movie. So let me do some. Bear with me as I want to make this smaller. Okay, let me forget that. Let me just
Hang out it's smaller.
Oh yes, thank you. Okay, so now what I'll do is bring up the movie. So I'll be toggling back and forth between the slides and the movie, and hopefully the movies come out smooth.
Can everybody hear us and see us? Can you go back there and?
Why, Ranjana Pachi? We can hear you and see you properly.
Okay.
So here's Angkor Wat. Now this is one of the scenes around one of the inner tanks. There are 4 large tanks within Angkor Wat where religious ceremonies were held. And this is just a view around the tank.
They are right on 4 sides of the central spire.
So you can see these things that look like wooden carvings. So this is. Okay, so let's get back to this. Okay. So this is scenes from inside the Angkor Wat temple. So this is our tour guide, Mr. Chum. He's a Buddhist. I'll tell you a little, some interesting history about him later on. So, okay, and here are the 2 of us butting heads. No, not quite. But anyway, we are.
Okay, so here what he did was he kept his cell phone with, showing the 4 cardinal directions, and that was on the floor. And right in the middle, right, Ashok's head is right in the center of the ceiling. But below that, the 4 cardinals directions and northeast, southeast, and all these other ones, they are marked up there, but as well on the floor. But the best part of it is there's not even a degree of deviation from the 90 degrees. Everything is perfect, right in the middle. And then on all 4 sides, there are entrances, east, west, south, and north. And then when you step out of this Angkor Wat center tower, when you go to any other building, like there is a library building just outside, which is also huge, and it's very amazing with carvings and all kinds of other things. So if you look at the center of each of them, the cardinal directions are perfect, so and all of them have these north and south and east-west entrances perfectly situated.
Okay, so so these are again apsaras here. I'm talking about these now. Yeah. So and she's also posing there.
I was trying to get my hair up.
Okay. Anyway. All right. Okay. So this one, there's a lot of restoration going on in all these temples. So this is a statue that they are going to ultimately place in the correct place, but it was sitting on the ground in the courtyard. This is a towering statue of Vishnu, Lord Vishnu. You can see, and they're performing a puja there.
And look, can you expand Vishnu's head? You have to
no.
Press here and then, right? Oh no, sorry. Go back.
Okay, so yeah, I've got a close up somewhere else. Okay, now this panel, if you see this, can you see these holes? These holes, these are actually bullet holes, believe it or not. This one here is a bullet hole, and that's because the Khmer Rouge, they had a merciless campaign, 75 through 79, in which a quarter of the population of Cambodia died. So it was a massive genocide. And the Pot Pol's army used these structures for target practice. So that's why you see these bullet holes.
And there are
around here.
many of them.
And our guide, Mr. Chum, was in that army fighting a pot pole. And he told us that out of the 150 people in his group, only 45 survived. He was one of them. His brother died. Several of his family members were butchered by pot pole. So it's just a terrible, terrible period in Cambodia's history. So, so a lot of these monuments have suffered due to war, looting, and just desecration. So, okay, so here's an example of that perfect alignment. This is an aerial view of Angkor Wat. This is the outer compound. So, you know, that view that we took was from here, that sunrise, and this is the outer wall. This is the inside thing. These are the 4 large tanks, and the carvings and all are on this. The Mahabharata carvings and all are on this. And these are the corridors here that you see. Here's one example of that corridor. And here is Surya Varman II, who was the architect, who was the emperor at that time. It was built during his time. And here is an example of that Ranjana was talking about, the 4 corners meeting here. So this is a view of the ceiling, one of the places. Okay, so the Angkor Wat is surrounded by a moat. There's a water and there are 5 bridges coming to it. And there's a moat all around. This is a view of the topmost tower. So it's got 4 levels, right? 3 or 4 levels. So we climbed all of that. She climbed all of that. That was a massive amount of walking that day, because these steps are not small, they're pretty big.
And something happened to me. God blessed me. I could go all the way to the top.
Yeah, we didn't think she could make it up there, but we went to the top courtyard here. And of course, to climb to the top of this tower, you still have to go those many steps, which we didn't do, but it was closed here. But anyway, so, and this is a huge, you can see the scale here. This is a person standing at the base here. You can see how big this Sheshanag is. This is on one end of the bridge. This is like it's like the post at the end of a bridge.
And both sides.
And, yeah, both sides. So it's beautifully carved Naga. And then on one side there are Devas, on the other side there are Asuras. You'll see that later on. And
this is not just here, but everywhere where the bridges are, there are huge carvings of Nagas. You know.
So, yeah. And then at the end, we took a little break here, much needed break.
I look very tired.
Yeah, so that was that. Okay, so after that.
But aren't you going to show the movie? No movie?
No, we already saw that.
Oh, yes.
Okay. That is around the tank. Yeah. So then we came to this temple. Actually, the day after that, I was not well. So we actually took the day off. We just rested.
We missed some
things because I just couldn't. I had all kinds of stomach issues. So so we stayed home that day and just kind of went around just locally. The next day we went to Banteshri. It's called the Citadel of Women, but the actual inscription name, there's a Sanskrit inscription inside. And it's called Ishwarapura, and it was built around this time. And then I'll show you some things about it. So Rajendra Varman was the emperor who, actually, it's interesting. This is the only temple that was not built by the monarch. It was actually built by the a counselor to Rajendra Varman, not by him. So that's kind of an interesting thing about it. And it was consecrated on the 22nd of April, 967. And we know that from an inscription.
And the inscription is actually the lipi of it, the script of it is Tamil, but the language is Sanskrit. Yeah. So, it's amazing that that far back they had the same language.
Yeah, so the Indic scripts were exported, as because of the Hindu migration culture. Okay, and this is a poster saying this is Archaeological Survey of India. So India was one of the countries that went in to help rebuild this temple after Potpol's regime was defeated. This is a view from outside. And these buildings are fairly low profile, unlike the other temples. So that's why they called it, at least that might have been the reason why they called it
Feminine.
it had kind of feminine look. So here are some of the images from that. This is Shiva and Parvati. Of course, this has been partly damaged here, riding on
And,
bull Nandi.
And when you look at all the images of gods, I mean, murtis of God, you will see that just like how they have depicted Buddha later, the long ears and the matted hair and a top buchada, that you will see for Vishnu, Shiva here also, and in most of the carvings, early carvings. So and then later on, Buddha had the same hairstyle.
So, okay, so this is Ram slaying Ravan. So this is Ravan, and you can see his faces here, his heads here. So this is a portrayal of that. This, I don't know the description of this one. But you can see the carving is very elaborate and it almost looks like a wooden structure. And this is a hard red sandstone. This is Indra riding
Airavat
and the
other
three elephants. Airavat is the main guy. Yeah. This is Mahalakshmi.
They made it look like wood.
Yes,
Really,
it almost,
stone.
it's very delicate. It's probably the most delicately carved amongst all the temples there.
Oh my, look at this.
This is another one. Looks like a war scene of some kind. Here is Narasimha slaying Hiranyakashipu. So this
and if you see this Narasimha face, they have it outside of all the houses. They have some kind of, scary looking monster kind of a face. And that is to scare away evil.
to protect the place.
And protect the place. So mostly I think it is, they have Narasimha outside, on the outside wall of temples as well as houses.
These are side views of the Banteshri temple. Panoramic view. Okay, that's a lot of words there, but basically I wanted to kind of give some background to Cambodia's tumultuous history. I'll give you a little glimpse into that. So the Spotpol regime, it's a communist regime that came after the monarchy of Sihanouk and Lon Nol, I think. They were overthrown, and Potpol, he started kind of a massive kind of a de-urbanization process where everyone was forced to go and work in the fields, and you had to do a certain amount of work, otherwise you wouldn't get fed.
So that was the communist regime.
Yeah, it was a communist regime, and it was supported by China and by Vietnam. He was supported by those. Millions of people, several million people, a quarter of the Cambodian population was killed during this war. So it was just horrible. So, and at the end of the war, there were a few million unexploded landmines hanging around. So many children and adults lost their limbs as a result of these landmines going off. And the government supported some of the people who were injured, the war veterans. They gave them a subsidy, and you'll see many of them performing musical, playing on musical instruments or doing some artwork at these sites. And people are expected to tip them, but they get some subsidy. But it's a pretty sad situation here. So let me show you some of those musicians. this is outside Banteshri.
You can see some of them are blind also.
Yeah.
This is an incredible young artist. What's your name?
My name then. Then my name.
Nice. You made all these?
Yeah, do already.
Very nice. So by the time we came back, he had finished one of the that painting, and we bought it.
Yeah. Nice meeting. We have that.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see how to do that. Okay, Bante Kadai. So it's dedicated to Lord Shiva, and that was built by Rajendra Varman.
Mhm.
Let me see. Yeah, Rajendra Varman in this time. So so it's a Shiva temple, and later on Jayavarman VII in 1181, he became a Buddhist, and so the statues of Buddha as well.
This is
And for both,
actually
so
Shiva,
this one is Shiva.
and down there is
Buddha, so
Vishnu. So
Yeah, no, this is Buddha, I think. Yeah, or
yeah,
Vishnu.
but they
Yeah.
but
So it's a very
Shiva
similar.
that you saw, I mean Vishnu that you saw before in Angkor Wat,
yeah, it's similar.
has exactly the same
Similar features, yeah.
features and
So,
hairstyle.
so one of the things we noticed is, of course, on the side you could see these abandoned base of the
Shivalinga.
Shivalingas. So obviously, of course, some of them might have been vandalized, but others might have been, just replaced with other statues. So for several years, both Hindu and Buddhist pujas were performed here in this temple. But it's got both Shiva and Buddha statues.
Also, in this Bante Kadai, it means
It means
citadel of towers, and there are
monks. Citadel of monks.
Yeah, and also citadel of towers, because there are so many towers, which each of the towers has a Shivalinga. It's a huge Shivalinga inside, and it looks like these were made for every person in their family, or each family in the royal
family, yeah.
entourage. So that we found even now when we went to Bali. Every house has a lot of towers. You can see all these beautiful carved, outside of those temples. And there are so many in each household. So I think that comes from there probably.
And at the gate here, at the gate of this Bante Kadai is this, I just took a kind of close up of this Kurma avatar. This is a tortoise here. So, okay, so that, all right. So this is a picture of that bridge. Okay, so after we left Angkor Wat, that area, because Banteshri is somewhere else, Banteshri and Bante Kadai are outside. But from Angkor Wat, you can go to Angkor Thom, which was the capital to which they moved. And this Angkor Thom, there's a bridge, and there's a picture taken of the bridge. These are the faces of the Devas.
Devas.
And Angkor Thom is on that side.
And on the other side, there are Rakshas, and they are doing the churning of the ocean.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
you can see on one side is the face of the Naga, and on the other side, the tail. So.
Okay, so let's go to that.
This is the Deva side.
So they call South Gate. Look at the moat surrounding of the temple, 3 kilometers per side, and look at support by the Great Wall. They use a fortified rampart, 5 entrances. Also, like each entrance they decorate.
Okay. Switch back here. Okay, so after crossing the bridge, we go to Angkor Thom, the later capital, and this Bayon temple is in the middle of that of Angkor Thom. And this is a temple that has 54 face towers. Each tower has 4 faces. They say the face is modeled after that of Jayavarman the 7th, because it was built during his time, because they've got a portrait of him somewhere and it looks like them. But you could interpret it as either
Actually, it
faces
was
of
Brahma.
Brahma has 4 faces.
4 faces, and they used to be
Yeah.
covered with gold.
Yeah, so these were all probably covered with gold at some time. Not all the towers are standing, but in all there are 216 faces, 54 towers. And she's seeing nose to nose. I think the guide
This
made
is
her
taken-
stand.
yeah.
This is taken by the guide. He made her pose at a certain place.
We
and then he
didn't
took her.
know, you know, so
And then
he asked me to stand there and he took a picture and then he showed it to me. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, so this is probably how it looked like before. This is how it looks today. But it's quite an impressive structure. Huge. These are huge monuments. Okay, then we went to Ta Prohm. Ta Prohm is the place where here's the tree taking over. So this part was covered by a jungle. Of course, all these areas were covered by the jungle, but this one was particularly hard hit, I think, by the trees. They just took over all the buildings. And so you get some very incredible pictures here of trees and stone temples merging with each other. And this looks like an octopus has literally enveloped the whole thing. And look at this one. It's a huge root structure. Of course, a lot of tourists come here because Tomb Raiders was filmed here, apparently.
In fact, we had one lady come from the other side after we passed the Tomb Raiders, that particular picture, this one on the right-hand side. And she was saying, oh, I went everywhere. There are so many of these. Which one is the Tomb Raiders thing? And so we had to go ask her to go back and look at it.
There's a particular place apparently that appears there a lot. Okay, so Tomb Raiders, let's see. Okay, okay, so here I just want to point out one thing. This tower here. Oh, you wanted to say something about this?
So can everybody see this when my cursor?
Don't move it that fast.
Hello?
You can see the cursor here? Yeah.
Yes, we can see.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So
use this or use this?
Yeah. So this picture is from this tower, and there are all these different animals that are prehistoric. So this is the dinosaur, and and this was built in 1181 or earliest 900s. But at that time they somehow knew about all these prehistoric animals, and this also looks like the design around it. It looks like the way the temples in India depict the avatars of Vishnu, Dashavatars. So Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, etc. So this is the way they do it. So here they have done something different. So, but it's the same idea. And down here you can tell.
Oh yeah. So this our guide made us walk through this thing, and we became omnipresent for a brief instant there. So that is that one.
He took one picture, but we are on two sides of it. Yeah.
Okay, so here is the Dashavatar in Mahabalipuram. This is actually the Dashavatars portrayed here, and you can see it's very similar kind of
idea,
design, and even the idea. Yeah, though the figures are different. Okay. Then after that, we went to the next day. This was a day trip. The following day, we went to the Kulain Mountains. This is the mountain where all that sandstone for Angkor Wat construction came from. So it's about 40 kilometers from Angkor Wat. And the big items here, the big things to see are the reclining Buddha. It's a huge statue of Buddha reclining. And then at the base, this is on a small hill, but at the base of that hill, mountain. It's on top of the mountain. And but they also at the bottom have deities, Hindu deities. They have a Ganesh, they have Shiva, And then they have Buddha and other deities and so on. And people are worshipping all of them. They can make a round of all of those. So you'll see a movie on that. Okay, so this is on the way a drive to the Kulen Mountains. The reclining Buddha, and you can see the scale, how big the statue is. There's a Buddha earlier at the base of the hill. Okay, and then we did a little arti of Ganesha. We forgot to take our hats off. But so you look a little weird, but we're doing the arti.
But we did take our shoes off.
We did, yes. So let me show you a movie. Yeah.
So there are all these lingas and all the Hindu deities there.
Okay. Back here. Okay, so before we go to the 1,000 lingas, a little bit about the agriculture there. So that area, Cambodia, of course, grows a lot of rice, and there's a particular variety of rice called the floating rice. And the interesting thing about this floating rice is that when the Mekong floods, River floods, all of these rice plants get submerged. But they've kind of adapted to that because if all the plant is underwater, it would rot. So actually what happens is there is some gas, ethylene gas, that builds up in the stem of these rice plants. And when it gets submerged, this hormone gets triggered, and this is a growth hormone for the plants. And so the plants kind of grow very rapidly in order to bring the foliage up to the surface of the water. So the rice, the rice grains and all, and the leaves are all floating on top of the water, and they continue to kind of grow to stay just above the water surface. So this is the
gibberellin, it's called, the hormone.
Yeah, so that's a kind of an interesting variety of rice that grows there. And this is the Mekong River on the various
so delta, yeah.
And then here is what the fields look like here, and it's just beautiful countryside, very green and lush, and it almost looks like our Konkan coast. It looks like our Konkan coast actually, and similar plants. You see cashew, mango, jackfruit.
Jackfruit.
Yeah. Okay, and then we went. So after coming down from seeing the reclining Buddha, just a few hundred yards away, you are on that riverbed, and you can go down the river. And actually, to see all these carvings on the side of the riverbed, you have to actually hike down, which we didn't have the energy to do. That's why
we went along the river
a little bit. Yeah, but actually it goes quite a way further. And
so you can see the lingas, 1,000 lingas.
Yeah, but, so here are the lingas, but see on the sides, there's some incredible figures that have been drawn. So here is Brahma. This might be, I don't know. But here is reclining Vishnu. So you can see Vishnu reclining here. Here is his head, here is his body. And then here's the lotus coming out of his navel. And then you have Brahma here. And at his feet, you got Lakshmi. So, and here are the lingas. You can see they're of course worn out because the river has been flowing over them for 1,000 years. Yeah. So this was built during the time of Suryavarman I and Uday Aditya Varman II. 11th and 12th century.
And how they did it was very interesting.
Yeah. So we'll come to that later. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So here is, these are some pictures that we took. This is where it's dry, and this is underwater here. And here on this, on the right-hand side, upper right, you can see Vishnu reclining like this, right? And this is his head, and he's resting. This is his arm under his head. Okay, you can also see it here. Yeah, this is his head. This is the top of his head. This is his arm. This is Lakshmi. This is
It's all covered with sand.
Yeah,
but
it's covered with sand.
And it's been there for 1,000 years.
Yeah,
so.
and here's the lotus coming out of the navel of Vishnu, and this is Brahma here on top.
Mhm.
And here on the lower left, you'll see the profile of Vishnu here. Here is his headdress, here is his chin, and here are the eyes. Okay, and here
his
is
hand on
his hand is under his head. And similarly here, he's here. You can see his head here. So, okay, and now a short movie where I attempt to give a commentary on the 1,000 lingas. Let's see. So, so you want to say something about how the
Yes.
river was kind of
Yes.
diverted?
So when they were doing all the paddy fields and everything, and all the the water management, what they did was they took. I mean,
They diverted the river.
They diverted the river, and how they did it was, they diverted it, and in the old riverbed, they carved all these 1,000 lingas and beautiful statues and figurines of all the devas and everything. And then they again re-diverted it into that same riverbed. And the reason was because all that water is made holy, and it would flow into the rice fields and all, and it will be like a blessed, the whole community will be blessed with it.
So that was the idea.
So that was the idea, but it was amazing big project.
Yeah, to kind of divert a river like that, and you'll see that river now in those days, and to build this thing and then redirect the river. 1,000 lingas, Sahasra linga water bed, energy and kind of flow bata. पूरे सुमार जर लेंदी, तो लाइक तुम कुछ दिख पड़ी होगा. यहाँ गाय का साइन बड़े ज़्यादा होगा.
Now this sacred water goes all the way down to the paddy fields, and they consider it a blessing from Shiva. But it shows their bhakti. That's the best part I
The
like.
sign says no passing on the carving, which means no
Stepping on
no
the
stepping on the
sacred
linga.
lingas. Right.
So, let's see. So that was that finished our trip in Cambodia, and then we flew to Indonesia. So we went to the yellow region here is Indonesia. It consists of 30 provinces. So we visited 2 of the provinces, namely Java and Bali. So Bali is one of the 30 provinces. So for the major ones here, Sumatra, Java, and then these kingdoms, these islands here, but there are many more. All of this is part of Indonesia. Let's see. Okay, so we flew from here, from
Siem Reap.
yeah, Siem Reap is somewhere here. From there we went to Bangkok, then to Jakarta,
Which
and
is
then to
actually
Yogyakarta.
Jayakarta. Jakarta means Jayakarta.
And Yogyakarta is
Now they call it Jogjakarta.
Jogjakarta. They call it Jogjakarta. And then Bali is out here, one of the islands here. What's it called? Denpasar. Denpasar Airport. Okay, so okay, a lot of words here, but basically, Jakarta has a population of 30 million, and I didn't know that it is the second most populous urban area after Tokyo. At least that's what it says here in Wikipedia. and this the island of Java is one of the most heavily populated islands in the world. Okay, and then Yogyakarta, it enjoys actually a special kind of a place amongst the provinces because it actually is ruled by a monarchy. So it's called the royal city, is still ruled by a monarchy, but they have some kind of a federation, all these provinces. Yogyakarta is known for its universities. This is a famous university. There's a good medical school there, engineering school there. They're very proud of that. There's also a lot of literature, drama, and this is where we saw the Ramayana play as well.
Yes.
So,
And they have amazing batik textiles.
Yeah, we
So
visited that.
they are very proud of it, of the textile.
yeah, we visited that. I don't have photos of that here because it would have gone on too long. So we didn't take that, but that was worth visiting. Okay, so let me look at my crib sheet here. Okay, all right. So, okay, so, Indonesia is a fascinating country. It's a majority Muslim country. In fact, only Bali, which has maybe has just a few million people. So Bali is 82% Hindu. All the rest of the people are Muslim. But one of the unique things about Indonesia is that unlike other Muslim majority nations, they have kind of acknowledged their Hindu heritage and culture, even though they have converted to Islam. So you don't find this kind of a friction, that you see in some other countries. You can see that also in the way they celebrate the festivals and also how they commemorate Hindu holy days, Hindu deities, festivals. So all of these are, for example, Cambodian stamps of Hindu epic characters and gods. So here's Ganesha and other things. Here's Marich. And this is, it says Baldev, Krishna and Bhim.
What we don't see in India.
So they're all celebrated here. This is, I forgot which these are. Anyway, so these are, and one of these is Pandavas. I don't know. I think this might be Pandavas. Okay, so they depict all of these Hindu gods and goddesses, and on major occasions you find these kinds of commemorations of Hindu culture.
And
Okay.
even though they are Muslim, that their religion is Muslim, they say their culture and ancestors are all Hindu. And so they really are very close to, their culture.
So that's
old
that we
culture.
found very different than at other places. Okay,
And their motto is, we are all not one. They say we are all, what is their motto? We are all the same or something.
Brahmanan temple, Sanskrit is Parabrahma actually, but they pronounce it, they call it Brahmanan temple. It's dedicated to the Trimurti, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. Another interesting thing about this trip was that in Cambodia, we had a Buddhist guide. In Indonesia, we had a Muslim guide. And in Bali, we had a Hindu guide. So we kind of covered all the Eastern religions pretty much there. So, so let's go to, okay, so this is Brahmanan temple. Okay, so this was built in the 9th century. It is the second, is the largest Hindu temple in Indonesia for sure, and the second largest in Asia after Angkor Wat. I'm sorry, not in Asia, in Southeast Asia. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And okay, so here's an interesting thing. For it's been idle, the temple has not been used for 1,000 years. But it so happened that just 12 days before we arrived there, they actually inaugurated, they did an Abhishek ceremony at Brahmanan temple to purify the largest temple there after 1163 years. They performed the same ceremony that was performed when the temple was first consecrated on November 12th, the same date, that many years before.
1163
So
years
people
back.
came, Hindus from all over Indonesia, Bali, they all came and they celebrated it with this purification ceremony. And this is something that appeared in their
And they
newspaper.
discovered an inscription written on the day the temple was established.
Yeah, and they did
So
the
it was
same. They performed the same.
856 AD.
Yeah, from 856 AD, it had not been used. So we, November 12th is when they performed it. We landed there on November 24th, so we missed it. But anyway, so we didn't know about this until we landed there, and the guide told us this. So here is our guide explaining what we're going to see in Prambanan temple. He was an excellent guide. 1 minute. Let's go back to here.
See the main temple inside. At the Brahma temple, we're going to see the statue of Brahma, the creator, with the forehead. And then for the Shiva temple, there are 4 rooms. It is special. This is very high, higher than Borobudur, which is 47 meters before. And then first room from the east, we're going to see Shiva Mahadeva, this is God of God, Supreme God. And then second room, we're going to see Agastya or teacher or guru. And then room number 3, we're going to see Ganesh. This is elephant, this is son of Shiva. It's God of knowledge of the science. The local people also come here and rub the drum here before the exam. And then room number 4, we're going to see Durga or Parvati in other Hindu countries. Yeah, this is wives of Shiva, beautiful women, strong women with 8 arms. And then room next temple will be Vishnu, a guardian, a protector, so with a statue of Vishnu. And then the nice relief sculpted here in Prambanan. It is the relief about Ramayana, Rama, Sinta, husband and wife kidnapped by the giant, and then it is sculpted from the Shiva temple and continue to Brahma temple. This is one of the example here, where the Kumbhakarna got killed by the Rama group and helped by monkeys, the Hanuman group.
Okay, so that was him explaining explaining the temple. So before we go to the Rama and Bale, we'll switch to the what we saw inside there. Let's go here. Okay, so these are some of the statues that he mentioned. These are pictures that I took. So that's of Durga. These are actually huge statues. They're like 15 feet tall, 15 or more.
You stand down there, you only reach
I think I come up to about here. Brahma, Vishnu, Agastya, Ganesh. And here are some other carvings. Balram prying apart the jaws of Kaliya right here. Krishna killing cows, his wicked uncle cows. And then Ravan kidnapping Sita while Jatayu on the left tried to help her. This is Jatayu here. Okay, so just outside the compound of Prambanan is this poster of the Rama and Ballet. This is what we went to see the same evening. In the morning we did this and we saw Prambanan, and in the evening we went for a dinner and a show of the Rama and Ballet. And again, interesting thing, the cast was entirely Muslim cast. And here is the schedule. So these are days when they do these episodes, selective episodes, the loss of Sita, then Hanuman, the messenger, the death of Kumbhakarna, and so on, the holy fire of Sita. So these are, they only enact those on these days. Then on the blank ones are full story, okay? They enact the whole story on all these other days. And the ones that are green, they call it special Eid al-Fitr performance. So on their
Muslim festival,
they actually do a special performance on these days. So it's just kind of very different than what you would expect, at least what I expected. So anyway, it's a beautifully done ballet, and you're going to next see some scenes from that.
And before the ballet, they have a sumptuous meal.
Yeah.
During which
There's some live music.
there is some live music
with some
and
traditional
some
instruments.
ladies dancing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Very
they have.
nice.
They have some
It's
traditional.
a whole entertainment evening.
Yeah. Okay, so here what I've done is we've taken several scenes and we kind of you go from one to the other scene, but you'll see what it is at the bottom. So
It's
you
written
can follow
there.
it through.
It's Ravan showing off his strength. The Rakshasas are praising him. So Ravan is blessing
Sita sees the deer.
Lakshman is here.
He brings the ring, Ram's ring to. They set Hanuman's tail on fire. Okay, so that was a glimpse of the very nice ballet. Then we went on stage and posed. Everyone went and took turns posing with the cast. Here's the whole cast here on the lower left. Here's Ravan, Ram, Sita, and Lakshman. And here is Hanuman on the right. Okay, and then next day we went to Borobudur, which is the largest Buddhist temple in the world, built during the Shailendra dynasty, rule of the Shailendra kingdom, 8th, 9th century CE. So this is it's got like 5 different levels here, like large platforms, and on the walls of this are stories from the life of Buddha. And so I climbed all the way up. Ranjana couldn't do it, so she stayed back here. So went up here, and you get a nice view of the whole area, and it's pretty impressive. The whole thing is huge. I can see the dimensions here. So the total height of this thing is 115 feet, the dome, above the ground level. This is the view from the front, and you can see the people going up here, and then it's a huge structure there.
And on
Buddha
each
and
level, they
meditation.
have a Pradakshina terrace.
Yeah.
So actually, it's called Pradakshina.
Pradakshina, right. Yeah, so I went with a guide around. It was a lot of walking and climbing because these steps are really high. I thought Angkor Wat had tall steps. This had even taller steps. So I was pooped at the end of this. So here is an interesting thing. I saw this kind of caught my attention. This is a picture of a ship. So remember, a lot of the trade was vibrant. There was vibrant trade between all these countries in Southeast Asia and India and China. So this is a carving of one of the ships. This is again on top. This is our guide who took us to see his mosque. So we visited his mosque here. And then we came back to our hotel.
And this is a beautiful hotel, actually.
Beautiful hotel, and some very famous people have stayed there. You can see 2 of them here. Apparently, when he went, because he grew up in Indonesia, right?
Right, so, and he went and visited, and he stayed at that
apparently
hotel.
Stayed, so must be a good hotel. So, anyways, it was a good hotel.
So, excellent.
So, yeah. So, okay, and then from Yogyakarta we flew to Bali, which is a short hop away. So this is the only Hindu majority province in Indonesia. So here are just some figures about that. They practice something called Balinese Hinduism. But yeah, it's all Hindu deities and so on. And the life in Bali centers entirely around religion. So they have festivals all the time. They have processions, religious processions, and each day they have an offering that they put in front of each house, whether it's a commercial property, commercial enterprise, or a private home. They'll have this little offering that they have to please the god, and particularly the god Griha Devata. Yeah.
And also not to make them it's like auspicious, auspicious offering. And they do that every single day, and each household.
Yeah, that's a common thing. So when you're walking on the footpath, you have to be careful that you don't step on these offerings, because they put that right in the middle of the footpath, or just next to the steps. Yeah, outside their threshold there. Okay, so we got to stay in this absolutely gorgeous place.
And thank you, Suman.
I'd recommend anyone who goes to Bali to stay at this place.
Rasa Sayang.
There are several of these Komanika branches, but this one was particularly good. I mean, we stayed there, but we loved it. It's got a totally tropical atmosphere. So you can see the vegetation and the way all the balconies are just overflowing with vegetation, lush vegetation. So here's a view out of our, looking out of the balcony, and there are lots of mangoes on this tree. And I found one guy climbing up in the morning and knocking down some mangoes as well.
And from our restaurant, there is this infinity pool.
Yeah, and this place was just so hospitable. It stood out. And also Ranjana got a great massage, I'm told.
Yeah, so what they
maybe
used
you
to
can
do
tell
is every day, right from the first day, they asked us what you would like, and they have a typical menu, but they ask you your favorite out of that. If there is, suppose you want Indian food, then they have another menu, or they will make your, whatever you want. So we said, they ask you what do you like and this and that.
And of course,
And
we're
after-
vegetarians, but
yeah, and
I
vegetarian.
eat egg. So they took all those notes down.
And they made 2 books, menu books, and they call uncle is Bappa and auntie is Ibu.
So we were called Bapak
so-
and Ibu.
So literally, so they had these 2 books with all our favorite things, and every day they would make one of those,
Dishes.
many of those items, and it was in a menu. So all 5 days we stayed there, right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner,
And
all the menu.
Even if the
And
staff
on
changed.
top, our names were there:
Yeah.
Ibu, Ranjana, Bapak, Ashok.
Yeah, and they made sure that even if the staff changed, like in the morning, the different
Right.
staff, then in the afternoon, they would make sure that this information is passed along. So next morning you'd see some different faces,
But they knew
but they knew
everything about
everything
us.
else about what we liked, what we didn't like, exactly how much, what kind of tea brand we like, whether like
Sugar or
one
not.
bag or 2 bags of tea, and so on and so forth. That I eat eggs and she doesn't, and blah blah blah. So
Very, very nice.
and this is the
Yeah, so here they had a
Massage
massage spa, and there also is an infinity pool, and they take you there, they wash your feet, they do kind of like a puja to you, and then they take you on the massage table, and it was a fantastic massage. And then first they give you a drink. They always, everywhere you go, they give you all these exotic drinks. Those are wonderful. And they treat you like you are God, It's like Atithi Devo Bhava, how we do it in India. They really mean it. So it's wonderful.
very nice. It was a great hotel. Okay, so of course Bali is known for its wood and stone carvings, and there are carvings and stone
Everywhere.
sculptures. Every street is lined with hundreds of these things. There's only so much you can fit in a suitcase, so we brought a couple of pieces from there. So let's go to the sculptors here.
What is that? It's a very hot day.
So the people in the front are the master carvers. They do the fine work, and the people at the back are kind of taking out the large pieces of wood. You can see that. And these people are doing all the fine workmanship. I think that's what I figured.
Yeah, and it was so hot. I mean, I don't know how they sit there, poor thing,
And inside of the shop where they sell these goods.
Yeah, the shop has beautiful collection.
They don't like to take photos inside, so I took all my photos outside.
Mhm.
Okay,
So the photos are there, right?
yeah. So let's go to the next. So we purchased this. This is a Buddha carved out of a portion of a
It's a
tree.
Shiva, actually.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Shiva. Yeah, carved out of this tree called the crocodile tree. So I placed it next to a crocodile tree so that you can see it has got these knobby things on the surface. It's beautifully done.
And inside is that color, that wood.
Yeah, the wood
It's
is that
beautiful.
color. Yeah, this was an interesting architecture there. This all wood. These are those people, and this is the statue
A
of
street
Buddha.
side shop with
Yeah.
a lot of stone statues.
Yeah, so we got this statue of Ganesha that we brought with us. So. Okay, then we went to a coffee and tea tasting in Bali. There was a place where you can taste different types of coffee and tea. So we went there.
It's like wine tasting, except it's tea tasting,
Yes, tea tasting
and coffee.
So let me show you that.
Okay. So
Okay, so this is our Arabica coffee trees, and this is the coffee bean, but it's not ready yet for making
And
coffee. So
see
green
the
color will
jackfruit
go into the red color, and red color is ready.
harness at the back.
And here's the Ganesha statue.
Ganesha statue, they do puja every day at the back.
Okay, that's just very short snippet, but I think I've become good at this. Okay, so here are the types of teas and coffees. Okay, and of course the most exotic one is this thing called luwak coffee, and
this animal in the cage is luwak, and he eats the coffee beans, and his excreta is then they heat it up, or actually
they roast it,
roast it in those
they pound it,
pots.
roast
Then
it.
they pound it, and apparently that's the most exotic because it tastes great. But our guide asked us, this luwak coffee is. Do you want that poop coffee?
Poop, he called it poop coffee.
No way.
Well, with that description, I didn't feel like having that. But it is modestly priced at 50,000 rupees a cup. This is of course Indonesian rupee, so that's why that comes to I calculated about $4 a cup. But everything else is free, so you can taste all these other things.
And we like that mangosteen.
We
tea.
like mangosteen tea the best actually, so we brought that with us.
Oh, and they have passion fruit there. It's so good.
Yeah,
I
passion
mean,
fruit is very good.
they keep the passion fruit, in your room along with other snacks, and every afternoon they bring new snack.
Yeah, so that is
The
very
passion fruit was wonderful.
Okay, then we stayed in this place called Ubud, the village of Ubud. Our hotel was there. And so close by is the Saraswati temple and the Ubud palace. So this is the Ubud palace. So these are scenes inside the palace. We just walked in the palace grounds and took some pictures. So you got very elaborate art everywhere. You can see that. And this is the Saraswati temple. Unfortunately, the Saraswati temple itself was closed, so we couldn't go inside. So we took various pictures through gaps in the fence. But it's surrounded by, it has a lily pond in front and very elaborate banisters and
And the on the
figurines.
right hand lower corner, those are that's the tank, and
Yeah.
through their pots the water comes out.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that day
they-
it wasn't there.
Yeah, so it's a very nice temple. And it's kind of it was almost walking distance from our hotel. There's also a place called Monkey Forest, which I'd heard some horror stories about, so we didn't go there because apparently the monkeys are pretty aggressive and they can take
Suman
off.
said one of the monkeys sat on her head or something, or
so
shoulder.
that kind of scared us, and we decided not to go there. We were very close to it, but we skipped that one. Okay, so then, of course, there are active volcanoes in Bali, and this one, the Mount Batur volcano, the last explosion was in 2000, but there are several in Bali, and then of course Java, Sumatra are also volcanic. So this was a nice drive up to the mountain there.
The last one at 2000, but only black smoke. At 2000, only black smoke. And then 1997, 1994, the same, only black smoke. A little bit lava, 1963. And then a lot of black lava like this, 1926. And more than before. So I remember there are three craters, 1, 2, 3. The most active is the lowest one on the left side, where the top of the black one.
Yeah.
So in 1994, I remember I just start walking like this.
Yeah.
Wow, this very famous. We do this tour because we see.
Okay, where you saw that man talking?
1 minute, let me have to take this down.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I'll do this.
I don't
know.
Can you guys see us? We can't see you. I can't
Hold on,
catch
hold on,
this.
hold on.
We can see you.
Okay.
We can see you, yes.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Because we can't see ourselves,
Yeah, so I can't tell.
Okay, so 1 minute. Let me just stop sharing for now. Okay, there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, all right. So now we can just. So this
Okay.
was a.
So, you know, a lot of carvers come there, and you saw those workers at the shop. They are there all day, and then they work for, I think, salary. But this man had his own, you know, if you can see,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful carving, and
So he was
made
selling
with
this
rosewood. But what he does is he makes it, sells it, and with that money he buys supplies. So he is not employed, but it's his own,
Yeah.
you know, art that he
So
sells.
until he sells this, he actually doesn't start the
Yeah.
next
So
one.
so we said, oh, we already bought it. He said, oh, but you know what? Until I sell this, I can't make another one. I felt so bad. And it's a beautiful carving, so we bought it.
So that's
Beautiful. Lovely.
Mm.
okay. Hold on. What do I do now? Share screen. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, just that, right? Share.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so let's quickly. Okay, and then we went to Baisakhi Temple, which is called the Mother Temple. It's kind of the most significant Hindu temple on the island, and a lot of people go there for pilgrimages and all. So it was established by
Rishi
Markandeya in the 10th century. So these are views as you go up there. This is from the same place where you see the volcano. And then on the way there, we met the school kids who are going to this Bala Yogi Shala in Baisakhi.
And if you see on the left lower corner, that structure is like our Tulsi Vrindavan, and every house has it, you know, in either small or big or whatever it is, but every house has it. And they put some offering every single day. And you can see the lowest step has some offering there. And also on top they put. So, you know, it's very
this is the school that these kids go to.
Devoted people.
And then here, this is at the base of that Baisakhi temple. So we're going to cross, climb quite a few steps.
It's so tall, my God.
Yeah, it's climbed quite a few steps. There are many levels.
I went up, but I couldn't come down. So.
Okay, so this is on the way up. On the way up, you can see all this. As you can see, it's pretty high up.
And they call it the Mother Temple, even though they say it's the 10th century. They think it might be older.
Much older.
And they say that Rishi Markandeya is the one who established it. And so,
so there's a place.
There's a place for him where he first did puja and everything.
Now I hope I can find. I'm trying to find this. Where did that go? Thank you. Okay. All right, so now we are at the end. Almost at the end. At the top, there are some wind chimes. So this is Baisakhi temple. On the way we drove. It was beautiful. This is Mount Agung.
Mount Agung. Yes. It feels like we are going to name Mount Konkan. And this one is a volcanic mountain.
And there's some interesting wind chimes where we stopped by. Finally, this is on top. We had some ice cream, cooled off, and then came down. Okay, so that's the end of that. And then there's only one more. As we were leaving the, where is that?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Okay, so we are at the end here. So there's the wind chimes. And then on the way to the airport, Bali airport, you know, the airport there has these huge statues. So this is Karna killing Ghatotkacha. For some reason, that is, they consider that an important event. And here is Arjun. So, but these are huge statues. This is like a traffic circle. So, and then there's some significance to why it's at an airport. And it's written there somewhere. I didn't get it. But it's
beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's very impressive. Big, very big structures. That's it. stop sharing. You got questions? Are you still there? Okay, all of you are there.
Everybody is sleeping.
Okay, so I'll mute myself and if there are
Very
any-
lovely. Really lovely. Beautiful, Ranjana Ashok.
Thank you.
Beautiful, Ranjana. It brought back so many memories for me. That Ramayan ballet, especially, it was fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
That was incredible, yeah.
Yeah,
And the size of some of these buildings and how they built those things with
Amazing.
huge
yeah.
blocks.
And then the other one that you talked about, which was a big thing for me, was the hospitality. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's, you know, you literally, they make you cry. It's that much of sweetness with them, you know.
Yeah.
No, and then for nothing, no expectation, no tip
absolutely.
expectations, nothing, just out of the bottom of the heart.
And
And
when
not
you
only just
stop
there,
it- Yeah.
even walking the streets, you know, especially you stop, like you stop and you want to ask for something and stuff like that. Everyone just gathers around to help you and stuff like that. So it's, and then the other one that really touched me was with all this religion thing going on in the world. Amazing how these common three religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Islam, all living in perfect harmony. Perfect harmony.
Yeah, that was unique
That
about
was-
Indonesia.
Yeah, and I think even Christianity, I think they said 4 religions, right?
Yeah.
4 religions all living in a perfect harmony. All festivals are celebrated. They don't even call it Muslim festival, Hindu festival, just their festival. So
Yeah, that was
And,
unique about Indonesia. yeah.
Even in schools, in their prayers, the first thing they say, we are all one.
yeah, yeah.
There's a particular word to it.
I know, I forget. They put their fist up. They put their fist up and they say that, you know, some phrase they have, which is just very, very amazing.
Yeah, that was just incredible.
That was really an excellent presentation, and I especially enjoyed the hearing about the history behind it as well, not just the pictures and the descriptions, but
Thank you, Suman.
Thank
all
you.
of that was very, very good.
Thank you so much.
Really nice. Thank you.
Very nice.
You did so much, you know, like personalize it and
Yeah.
we
Some
really
last minute
liked it.
changes, we
Yeah.
demanded quite a few things. From them.
Great, very much, very nice. Enjoyed it very much, Ashok.
Tum
Thank you.
Lathaunami, we got the inspiration because you guys went to Cambodia.
Yeah,
Afterward.
that's right.
Very nice presentation. Very good.
Thank you.
Excellent job.
Thank you.
Great job, yeah. A lot of effort you put in here.
Well, Vedant helped me with the movie making.
Yeah,
Because
we had little snippets. He put them all together.
the movie was done by him last night, and I was having all kinds of problems with the.
In fact, Ashok, the last picture which you showed just now, the Gadot Gachagala, the
Yeah.
last picture at the Dakelala,
Very
that
nice.
was just 2 minutes away from our resort.
Oh, really? Oh, so you were very close to the
Very close, yeah.
airport.
And,
I see, I see.
I still remember whenever the driver used to come out of the resort, first thing we used to see was that statue.
It's humongous.
Yeah, we stayed in middle of the town.
Ubud.
And
Ubud, yes.
We were,
And
on the,
Rasa Sayang.
we were on the east coast, much away from the hustle bustle.
Right.
Yeah, actually, we went to only one beach, so we
Yeah.
didn't see any beaches in Bali.
That's
okay?
amazing.
So, but we had such a great time there
Yes.
because
Yeah.
just the art and the temples.
And even
just-
5 days are not enough. You know,
Yeah.
we wanted to sit each of the places. We stayed about 5 days
yeah,
because I wasn't sure if I can make it in one day in one temple,
Yeah.
but somehow I could.
We went through
Yeah.
RCI, so we went through RCI, so we had to stay for 7 days, minimum 7 days.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
No, even the beaches, the beach resorts are beautiful. We stayed at Seminac. And absolutely unspoiled beaches, you know, and the hotels are right on the beach. So nothing to do. We just relaxed because that was the end of our trip. We had done 3-4 countries and ended in Bali. So just resting on the beaches, and it's hot throughout the year. Even December, it's hot. So you need to take breaks. But beaches also are just beautiful. Bali is one place I would actually go back again.
yeah, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
In a month there, I think. There's so many nice places there.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Very, very
Bye.
nice presentation, Ashok. Ma'am and
Very
Ranjana.
good presentation. Good job. Allowed the 1,000 photos and also the lingas and the Ramayana play was really good. Awesome.
Just a gentle reminder to everyone, At 4 o'clock, we are starting the satsang. And from this month onwards, we are reading the Guru Parampara. So please make yourselves available. Because we are talking about all the past gurus. So anyone who's not aware of it, please do it today onwards.
Okay, I'm going to listen to that. Daddy, can I keep it on?
Ashok Mom, Ranjana Pachi, thank you so much because we noticed how organized you were. You know, you showed the slides, you had put the pictures, you know, in such well organized manner. And you knew exactly when to go and, you know, to which part of the video. So you have put so much time, effort and thought into this. So thank you so
this
much.
morning.
Thank you.
You should have seen this morning. We were both squabbling.
Because
we were so nervous.
I'll tell you why. Because
I felt like a little kid, you know, doing a first performance.
The reason is his computer wouldn't work.
Yeah, and it was
then in the morning, Vedant presented us this new MacBook Pro, which we used, and getting used to it and putting everything on
I'm
it.
more a PC man. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that was amazing. Morning to afternoon, you got used to a Mac.
Yeah.
Ranjana, Ashok, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ranjana Pachi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashok.
Thank you, Ranjana Ka.
Both.
Thank you both.
Very beautiful presentation.
And Preeti. And thank you.
You're welcome.
Preeti. Love you. Bye.
Next week,
Thank you.
next week for the travel diaries, we'll be having Nitin Pai, who will be taking us on a Europe trip.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Sanjay.
Yeah, that's. सगळ्यांनी काल ती भरली